Welcome to the Women Warrior Podcast, where we are not just talking about breaking barriers and going for our goals. We are rising to the occasion. So today, I am joined by somebody that I absolutely adore and admire, Maureen Spataro. She is a woman that is breaking barriers, that is just doing so many incredible things, and we needed to have her on so we can also see about how maybe we can help you out with some new endeavors that you have going on. So Maureen, thank you for joining me today on the podcast.
Thank you for having me and that amazing intro. Oh my gosh, I don't think my head's going to fit out of the studio.
So let's jump right in. Maureen, you are one of the original Women Warriors when this was just the thought that I had.
Yes.
And in the meantime, when I met you, I actually met you and your mom.
You
It was
did.
the first time I met you.
Yes, you did.
And you were telling your story, and I don't know if you came out with Press Pause yet, but Maureen is an author of Press Pause. So talk about it a little bit.
So I do public speaking engagements, and I do it because I'm a survivor of incest, pedophilia, rape, and domestic violence at the hands of 8 different men, starting at the age of 6, and culminating in a quiet but profound nervous breakdown when I was 49. And I went through a 3-month intensive outpatient program, which means I went every day to group therapies.
Yes.
From 10:30 in the morning till 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And it basically saved my life because I was able to understand for over a 3-month period of time why I kept making the choices I was making and why I felt worthless. They actually asked us to describe to give them one word that would describe how we were feeling inside about ourselves. And my word was worthless. And as I went through the program, as I came out of it, I decided to put a lot of the notes and the diaries I had kept over those 3 months and put it into a book. And it just literally is my whole entire journey, going back and forth from past to present, from when I was a child to when I actually graduated, and how I started this journey of creating a life I love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I know your story, but for the people that don't, I just feel, I admire you so much because the story that you have told from earlier years up into present, the earlier years where you did go through so many things that nobody should ever go through, but you used your pain and your story to now change the narrative, like kind of the narrative.
Yes.
Shit, sorry.
Yeah. No, I did. I changed the narrative of my life. I did. I completely rewrote my family's legacy because we went from a legacy of victims to now we have a legacy of survivors and thrivers and young women in my family who have not experienced what me and a lot of the women in my family did. So it just proves to me that when you're willing, which as you know, I always say willingness is my superpower, because as long as you're willing to really do the hard things that you don't think you can or you really don't want to, because it's just so hard sometimes and it requires sacrifice. But if you're willing to do it, then you really can come out the other side happier and feeling, I don't mean to overuse this word, but feeling empowered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't think you can use that enough because I feel like as women, you know, the powerful words, right? Empower or boss, or they're always looked at as like, oh God, here we go again.
Yes.
Right? But no, like nobody knows what it takes to be us, right? I'm now in my early 40s and I finally feel now like I'm starting to really feel empowered.
Right.
Right? Because I feel like in life you're navigating and you're learning and growing. Like at 20, I thought I was grown. When now I have a 20-year-old, I'm like, she's a baby.
She's a baby.
You know?
And now I look at you because I'm in my early 60s and I'm like, oh, she's a baby. Wait until she hits my age. Wait until she hits my age. She's really going to feel like I have taken on the world and I can continue. Now I can take on the universe.
Yes. And well, it's funny because I always love to speak to women that already have lived a little bit longer than I do because I learn so much and I take it all in. And I always remember reading your book because I read it in a day. And I always tell everybody it's not just because I knew you, but because I envisioned the cover. Because the cover is your mom and you as a little girl. And you are just such a good writer. And I'm not saying that because you're my friend. Like, literally, like, you drew a picture in my head that I needed to know what was going to happen. And I wanted to know more of your story. And even though I did not go through those things, as a woman, I could relate, and not the same way that you do, because I would never want to say that because I feel like it's not right.
No, I know what you mean.
But what I mean is, I have daughters, and it makes you even more aware.
Yes.
I guess, being a mom, or just in general, I remember like potty training my daughters young, because I was so nervous. Somebody wipe it, these things that,
Yes.
Or
absolutely.
I mean, you can't stop what another person can do, but you used your story to now help other women. You speak. I mean, you go to colleges.
I do.
You're the house mom.
I go to high schools, I go to colleges, I go to sororities, and I talk to them about dating violence. I talk to them about the red flags, and even sometimes the smallest little things that you don't realize, because you think, well, everybody gets angry and everyone expresses their anger in a different way. And I tell them that's true, but when they cross, this is what it looks like when you're crossing a line. This is what it looks like when, something as simple as if they use their car as a weapon, meaning if you're in the car with someone and you're having an argument and they start driving crazy, or they start racing or doing something they know is going to make you uncomfortable, see ya. Get out of that car and don't ever go back in that car again, because that's just a tiny little view into what is truly inside of them and what's going through their mind. And as you know, that's how my last and final abuser almost killed me, in the car. So I talk about those things, and I try to make them aware that if they're feeling even a little uncomfortable, that's a red flag. It's okay. You're the most important person in that room.
Yes.
You have to take care of yourself that way.
Yeah. And I also think having these conversations, obviously it's not easy, right?
No.
At all.
Nobody wants to talk about it.
No, but I feel like when you do talk about it, then you realize that you're not alone. I know. And it makes people more comfortable to be like, wait, that happened to me too. Or I didn't even look at it like that. So especially going to colleges, I feel like in high school, girls are so young.
They are.
And they're so naive to so many things.
Yes.
Even though I do think this generation, they're a little bit more advanced with certain things.
But not with this topic.
No, I don't think that's... So what do you give it... Like, what kind of advice do you give to the younger girls? Not just the red flags, but anything that could kind of help them, or maybe they're in a situation that they don't realize is abusive. Because I feel like sometimes they don't even realize
They don't. And when I speak to them about what it feels like to meet that person that you think, oh my gosh, this is what I've been waiting for. This is this feeling that I've been praying for. And you look at them and they're looking back at you the same way, and they're talking to you in a way that you dreamed somebody you truly fell in love with would, and they're treating you in ways that you had hoped, and you're reciprocating that. It's so easy, and it just seems so right. But there is a point where it becomes too much, and that's what we call love bombing. And it's calling you every hour, texting you, I love you, what are you doing, what's up, showering with gifts, constantly wanting to see you. And because they're doing it in a way that their voice and their actions are so loving, what you don't realize is they're tracking you. They're making sure that you're paying attention to them even when they're not there. They're making sure that they know where you are and who you're with at all times. And then once you fall into that relationship, they're demanding more of your time. So they're starting to isolate you from your friends, which will eventually lead to them trying to isolate you from your family.
Yeah.
And as that's happening, their reactions to you being displeased are starting to elevate. They're starting to tell you that maybe they don't like the way you wear your hair, or they hate red lipstick because it makes women look like sluts. And they're saying it and laughing.
Yeah.
But they're starting to make you feel very self-conscious. And of course you're like, oh, well, no, I want to be the person that he loves. And you're not realizing the person that he loved, that he said he fell in love with, is the person he's now trying to tell you not to be.
Yes.
Because now he's manipulating you to become who he wants you to be, and he's testing you to see if he can. Because if he can't, I guarantee you he's not going to stay around for long, and that's going to be to your benefit. Because the women who speak up for themselves, the women who say, take a walk, I like this lipstick, and this is how you met me.
Yep.
Those are the women who are going to go on and continue to have healthy relationships. Once you're in it, like me, I realized too late that I was in it. You really do have to tell someone.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, depending on your age and depending on how the relationship is, depending on what he has access to, in my case, it was guns, will depend on how they now start to escalate your abuse. It will become threats. It will become emotional. It'll become mental. And then eventually it will become physical.
Yeah.
And the best thing that you can do is the minute you feel unsafe, tell someone. Tell someone, and as hard as it is, and it will feel like the hardest thing you have to do, is to stay away from that person. You have to remind yourself, I am the most important person in this relationship, not him. He's the most important person to himself. You have to be the most important person to yourself. And only then can you together be important to each other. But you both have to come first. And that was the biggest advice I gave at my last engagement. And that struck a chord with all of the girls that were sitting there. They're like, I'm like, being important to yourself doesn't mean you're conceited. It doesn't mean that you don't think anyone else in your life is important. But when you're at a moment, when you're sitting there thinking, this doesn't feel right, and everyone else is telling you, oh, you're overreacting. Oh, it's just because he loves you so much. Oh, he just can't. And you're sitting there going, no, this doesn't feel right. Your opinion is the most important one there. And hopefully that will empower and embolden young women to say, I'm too important to put up with this crap.
Yeah.
I'm too worth it.
Absolutely. It's self-love. Right?
Yeah, that's really what it comes down to.
Another word for women that kind of gets shunned.
But because I don't think women know exactly what that feels like. It's like, well, what is it to love myself, to think I'm beautiful, to go on expensive vacation? Yeah, that's all part of it. But when it comes down to what's in here, it's about looking in the mirror and going, I truly am the most important person in every relationship I'm with and every relationship I'm in. I'm the most important person in the relationship I have with my daughter because I'm her protector. Mm-hmm. I'm the one who's teaching her how to get through life. Yes, she's the most important person to me, but I am the most important person in this dynamic because I'm the one who's going to help her navigate the rest of her life.
Yes.
And that's not conceit. That's just a fact. That's just being a good mom.
Yes.
So if you apply that to every other part of your life, then you're going to see your worth at work.
Yes.
This is who I am, this is how I feel, and this is what I have to offer everyone. And that just makes you feel so powerful in the best way.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's funny, as you're talking, I'm literally seeing past things pop up in my head,
Yeah.
Because I feel like until you really hear somebody speak about and break it down the way you do, and then you're like, wait, was I in a toxic relationship?
Right.
But I thought that was love. Or love isn't supposed to make you scared. I mean, obviously you get butterflies, but love is, compromise. Love is building each other up. It's accepting you for who you are and just growing together, but that also comes in time. I just hope that anybody that is watching this and listening to this, definitely take notes or show your daughters, because it is important. I have daughters of all different ages. My daughter's 20 and she's coming into that point in her life where, I don't, usually in your 20s and it's like the way you kind of navigate to where, okay, this may be their person, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Usually, and if it doesn't, it doesn't matter to me. As long as my daughter's happy, that's all I care. And one thing that I love about her that she always does say, she goes, Mom, I'm the prize.
Yes.
And I say, yeah, you are the prize. I'm like, and yes, you are. You are the prize. And I love that she said that, because at 20 years old, I did not have that mindset.
Right.
I did not. But at 20 now, so, again, I love that. And every kid is different. But, again, you never know all the things that happen. But like you said, moms navigate. We help.
Right.
And we
don't. And you know what? We can give them every tool and they can still fall into something that is wrong. And I'm going to say it's wrong because any kind of an abusive relationship is wrong,
Yes.
period. And you know what? This goes for boys too. Boys should also feel that they're a prize. They should understand that what I bring to the table is very important, and they should not allow a manipulative woman or a manipulative man, if that's the type of relationship that they're in, they shouldn't allow anyone to compromise who they believe who they
Yes.
are either. But, you know, if I'm walking into tomorrow, this is who I am, this is what I look like, this is what I sound like, this is how I joke. If you want to be with me and you fall in love with me like this, and then I finally get comfortable with you and you look at me and you tell me, yeah, you know, you got to lose some weight around there. I know I have to lose weight. I know that the day that you met me.
Yes.
And you're not the person to tell me that. I'll decide that. Or you should try your hair a different color. You know what? Maybe you should grow a beard and hide your double chin. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, you can make a joke out of it, but it's like, no, this is me. This is the me you fell in love with. And
Yes.
if you don't like this person, there's somebody else out there for you.
Yes.
And
I
it's
love
okay
you
to say
said
that.
Though. I love that you said that too, though, because I do have a son, and I know
Yes,
a lot
you
of people
do.
that are watching this. And it's true. It's funny because the other day I was talking to another mom about this, and, you know, because everybody always talks about abuse as far as like, well, if a guy hits a, but how about the women that also put their hands on men or
And
boys?
they will.
And they will because they think it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, if a girl hits my son or a guy, whoever his partner is when he chooses, no, it doesn't.
No.
It never makes it right. Abuse is abuse.
Yes,
You know, and that's the thing. I think this is such an important conversation.
it is.
Because we can talk about this forever. Because I feel like there's so many different subtitles
Yes,
underneath.
there are a
this.
lot of facets to it. But for parents early on, the first thing I think you should pay attention to is, how does he speak to her? How does she speak to him?
Yes.
Because we do mimic what we're raised in. And you can get a lot of insight into where someone comes from, what type of atmosphere, what type of household, what type of family, or even just what kind of a mindset someone has when you listen to how they speak to your child. And yes, in the beginning, they're probably all going to be really nice and sweet, but sometimes they're not.
Yeah.
And that first time that you're like, yeah, no, that's not. Keep your eye on it.
Yeah.
You know, keep your ears open.
Yes, because and again, verbal abuse is sometimes even worse at times.
It is.
I just feel like all of it is just terrible, but words scar.
Oh yeah, those are the scars that you can never get rid of.
Yes.
You know.
Oh, I know. There's just so many things. I just feel like these conversations need to be had more because this is so many women and so many men go through this. And
Yes.
I feel like not until you're older sometimes to where you realize, oh my God, so many women around me have gone through this.
Yes, exactly. And so I have a friend whose daughter was murdered.
Yes.
And the first time that he met the boy that she brought home, she was 25, so she was a full-grown woman. The first time he brought her home, she brought him home, he knew something was wrong with him. And he struggled with, do I say something or do I just watch? How do I say it when my daughter is 25? Her case, Stephanie Nicole Pars, she was from Freehold, New Jersey. She's a beautiful young girl. Met her boyfriend online, did her due diligence, didn't meet him for a month, spoke to him on the phone, spoke to him online. They met. It was a whirlwind. And the first time she really got an idea of who he was the first time she wanted to go back to her parents' house for dinner. And they argued, and he slammed her head up against a cabinet.
Wow.
And her father had an inkling that he wasn't good, and then he found out that the young man was physically abusing her, and he confronted his daughter and said, you're going to take care of it or I'm going to take care of it. And she said, no, I'll take care of it. And I tell him all the time, 99% of the parents would have handled it that way.
Of course.
But he lives with the guilt because eventually he did kill her. He would have killed her either way. And this is what I mean. He love bombed her. He did everything right until the moment came where he couldn't hide who he was. And even though she tried to get away from him, one night he broke into her house, he strangled her, and then he placed her body on the side of Route 9 in Old Bridge, and it took 87 days to find her because then he killed himself a month later. So this is why I say to parents, pay attention. Pay attention, have open conversations, not accusatory conversations. Have open conversations with your children.
Yes.
Talk about some of the stories that you know of women who have been murdered, because I can tell you that I spoke to a police chief in one town that is not far from here. Domestic violence is up. Strangulation is up. Strangulation is the number one form of domestic violence. And it's on the rise. And that's why I say these kids, they don't know anything about this, because I don't think that parents have enough of these conversations.
You're right.
And I'm not blaming the parents, but if you come from a family that has never experienced this, then you don't know how to open up the conversation. But you need to, because now you're sending your kids out. And when I was younger, they sent us out. We had to come home by the streetlights. That's how old I am. So my parents never knew where I was. But my parents knew if I didn't come home by a certain time, they were already putting out a search.
Yes.
I could have just been around the corner.
Yes.
But nowadays, yes, parents can track their children. They have more access to them. But guess what? So do all of the people that are in their life. They have just as much access to your child as you do. When I went home when the street lights went off, I was home. Nobody had access to me. Your child goes home, the person they're with still has access to them.
Yes.
And you have to look at it that way. You have to look at it as, my child is always in the sights of everybody they know. And most of them are good people, but you'd be surprised how many kids are in the beginnings of domestic violence relationships in middle school.
Wow.
And then in high school. You would be surprised.
Yeah,
It's shocking. It is.
I can't even imagine. And I think now that my daughter's getting older, I look at these things a little bit more closely. But kind of piggybacking off of what you said, because I feel like as parents, right? Or, all right, I'll think of me when I was younger.
Yeah.
If my mom or dad told me no, it's like, but now why no?
Right.
Now I need to know why no. Or that boy's not good or that girl's not good, but why not? Like, it's a give and take.
It
so
is.
I love that you said that, to the parent that's listening, or you do feel that guilt, you can't help that other person. It's who they are. Right. And at 25, she is a woman. And
at 25, I was almost engaged to be married. Yeah. I had friends who were married. I had friends who were parents. You're especially in today's society, you're an adult. You can make your own decisions, and you can. And as a parent, and she wasn't living at home. So as a parent, a lot of us, my daughter lives out of state. You wake up every day, you think of them, you talk to them, you pray, and you go, please just watch over them. I hope I've given them enough of the tools that they need to go out and make a happy and safe life for themselves. But I know that I'm never going to know who my daughter's going to encounter. And I know that she could encounter someone, or someone I love could encounter a person who can harm them. I mean, every day we wake up, we're all in that situation. Yes. But to actually have it come to fruition is a nightmare. I hope God never thinks I'm strong enough to endure. I know. Because I will endure 1,000 more domestic violence relationships for myself if it means that my daughter stays safe. And I think every parent feels that way. Parent, yeah. So I want to be that mother, grandma figure who goes out there and says, so I'm going to tell you the things that your mother doesn't know how to tell you. And I'm going to tell you how I know because I did them. Yes. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I go into high schools, and one of my presentations is I just turn around and I look at everyone and I go, so let's talk about those dick pics. Now you're talking like with juniors and seniors, everyone just starts to giggle. And then I go, and what about, the hoo-ha pics? Let's talk about all of those. And it gets really serious.
Because that is what's going on. How does she know? How does she know that this is a thing?
And they giggle and I go, so boys, let me tell you the truth about your pics. The girls don't care about how big it is, how small it is, how wide it is, how skinny it is. It hangs to the left, hangs to the right. Let me tell you what she's going to do with those pictures. And I tell them she's going to giggle, she's going to show her friends, and then she's probably going to, the last thing she's going to do is say, ooh, I gotta have me some of that. And then I look at the girls and I tell them, now let me tell you what he's going to do it. He's going to show his friends, his teammates, his family members, maybe his dads and his uncles, because some people have sick relationships like that. I said, and then he's going to take it and he's going to put it in the file with all the other naked pictures from all the other girls who listened to him and fell in love with him and sent those pictures. He's not falling asleep with your picture on his pillow going, I'm the luckiest guy alive. You're just part of a line of girls who've done that. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't even begin to describe how many of those kids' eyes lower to the ground. And I can stand there and boys and girls, I had one boy admit he did it. And he was my hero. And he told the boys how much he regretted it. And then I look at them and I go, now tell me how I know. Mm-hmm. And then I tell them about the pictures I took at 46 with a man I thought I loved. And, oh, we're going to have a little fun. Oh, I could do this too. And then how he took those pictures and used them to keep me in that relationship. Because if I didn't stay, he was going to send them to everyone I loved and everyone I knew so that they could see what kind of a pig I was. And I tell them, if you think the word pig shocks you at 17, imagine being 46 years old with your daughter in college, living a life that I had lived, thinking I had known it all, and having this man who towers over me look at me and say, do it. You want to leave? Leave. Everyone's going to know what a pig you are. This is the reality. This is the reality of abuse. And nobody wants to say it. Well, guess what? I'm perfectly happy being the face of it if it saves a whole generation from making these mistakes.
Yeah. And thank you for being that voice and sharing your story, and just literally as you're talking, which I'm sure a lot of you guys that are watching this, a lot of aha moments, a lot of, oh my God, and have those conversations with your kids. They are uncomfortable, but it's the uncomfortable conversations that you have to have.
You have to have them.
You have to. I remember the first talk, like when I said I couldn't believe I was at a talk.
Yes.
But you have to have them, because if anyone, and I always tell my kids this, I tell you the truth because I love you. I am the one person in your life that loves you unconditionally. I just want you happy, healthy, safe, and just striving and thriving and all the things. Like, I tell you this, it's a little weird to talk about, but we have to have these conversations.
We do. What do we gain?
Exactly.
What do I don't gain any money. I don't gain any notoriety, satisfaction. I get nothing for telling the truth other than knowing I'm doing the right thing and I'm doing what I have to do to make my child aware of everything, every possibility. I don't want them to live in fear, but I want them to live in awareness.
Yes.
I want them to feel like they're stepping out there and I'm educated enough to be able to spot something and walk away from it before it literally eats me alive.
Yes. And thank you. So this was actually part 1 of this amazing conversation with Maureen Spataro. So tune in next week, because we're going to dive a little bit deeper to hear how you can also kind of help out with her mission. And we're going to hear about the incredible things that she is doing right now amongst speaking. So Maureen, thank you so much for joining us today. For anyone
this was great.
Thank you. For anyone that is on, follow Maureen at Maureen Spataro. Is it _press pause?
It's _Maureen _Spataro.
Okay.
On Instagram.
On Instagram. And also, if you go on Amazon, you can get her book, Press Pause. Again, it's on Amazon. Maureen, thank you so much again.
Thanks.
And I will see you guys next week.